For the My Properties template, we want to show a list of properties, but with a different behavior than on the homepage. Instead of linking to the property single page, each item should link to the Edit Property subpage. To do that, we first need another listing. It will be similar to the properties listing we used on the homepage, and will use the same All Properties query. The difference is the link. The label will be Edit, the link source type will be Profile page, and as the target page we select Edit Property. To pass the correct property into the edit form, we also need to enable Add Query argument for the link and pass the current product ID as a URL parameter. We'll use this new listing on the My Properties account subpage by inserting it there with a listing grid, and it will use the same custom vendor items query so each vendor only sees their own properties. Next, let's move on to the Edit Property template. This template needs a form, so we'll create one with JetFormBuilder. Go to JetFormBuilder, Add New, and start with a blank form. This form needs to know which product is being edited. That product ID is passed from the listing via the URL parameter, so the first field we'll use is a hidden field. For its value, choose URL query variable and set the query variable key to the same one we used in the listings query argument. After that, I'll add fields for all the product data a vendor should be able to edit. For example, the product title, price, and featured image. Now let's configure the form actions. In Post Submit actions, we'll enable Insert Update Post. For the post types, we select Product. The hidden field that contains the product ID needs to be mapped with Post ID will update the post option. The post title and featured image should be mapped to post title and post thumbnail, and the price field should be mapped with product regular price. With that in place, the form is ready to be inserted into the Edit Property template. Next, let's fill in the Add Property template. This one is even simpler. It will contain just a form for creating a new product. So we go to JetFormBuilder and create a new form from scratch again. I'll add fields for the property title, price, and featured image, just like we did in the Edit form. For the Submit actions, we again use Insert Update Post. For the post types, we select Product and set the status to Pending Review. Map the form fields to the relevant product fields like we did before, with the exception of Price field, which now maps with the default JetBooking Post Price field. Note that initially this form creates a simple product, and the admin needs to switch it to the JetBooking product before publishing. Once that's done, we insert this form into the Add Property template, and the vendor can start creating booking items directly from their account. Next up is the Booking Configuration template. Here we don't need to design anything, we just drop in one widget. It's a new JetBooking widget called Settings Configuration, and it basically gives the vendor a dashboard to control how bookings work for their items. The key thing is to understand that these are the vendor-level global settings. If the vendor doesn't change anything here, the website will use the global configuration set by the admin in the JetBooking settings. But the moment a vendor changes even one option and clicks Save, JetBooking starts using the vendor's own saved configuration for all of that vendor's bookings. And on top of that, there can still be a per item booking settings. Those can override both the admin global settings and the vendor global settings if they're enabled on a specific property. As for what this widget controls, the most important settings are the ability for the vendor to define the booking period logic, whether bookings are calculated per night or per day, which directly affects price calculation. Also, users can control date selection rules, like allowing checkout-only days, restricting bookings to week-long stays, and setting limits such as minimum days, maximum days, and the latest allowed end date. There are also a few usability options for the date picker, like showing a clear button, enabling month and year quick selection, and displaying the price directly inside the calendar for each date. Once everything looks right, the vendor simply clicks Save buttons and those rules immediately apply to their bookings. There are also 3 toggles in the widget's content settings. They don't change how bookings work, they simply control which groups of settings are visible inside the widget. So if you want to keep the vendor interface simpler, you can hide whole sections. And even though all these options come inside a single widget, you still get pretty detailed styling controls, so you can match the design of the settings block to your vendor dashboard and keep everything consistent. Next is the schedule settings template. Just like before, we only need to add one widget here, the settings schedule widget from JetBooking. This widget gives vendors full control over time and day availability. Here they can define general availability, set specific check-in and check-out times, and add specific days off. These settings are exactly the same as the ones available to the admin in the JetBooking dashboard, and also similar options you see when configuring availability on an individual booking item. The priority logic works the same way as with the booking configuration widget. If a vendor doesn't change anything here, the global schedule settings defined by the admin will be used. Once the vendor saves their own schedule settings, those will apply to all of the bookings. And if a specific booking item has its own schedule configured, that item level setup will override both the vendor and the admin settings. The content visibility toggles and styling options follow the same logic as with the previous widget. So you can control which sections are shown and adjust the appearance without changing how the booking logic works. The last template we're going to work on is the booking calendar subpage inside the vendor account. This page will also use just one widget, the multi-day calendar. It's a recent addition to JetBooking, and it allows bookings to be displayed on a calendar spread across all the days they occupy, instead of showing them as separate entries for each date. Before we can use the calendar, there are a couple of simple setup steps. First, we need a listing source for the booking data, and just like in a few previous cases, this will be based on a query builder.